ahora? We're going to keep going through it until we finish the 12 disciples. So, anybody remember who we spoke about last week? Matthew. We spoke about Peter, and what are we going to be speaking about for the next 10 to 12 weeks? Disciples. And today we're speaking about Andrew, but as you can see, Simon, and then it says James and his brother John, and then Andrew. But when you look at the order by which they were picked, it's actually Peter and then Andrew, okay? So that's what we're going to be talking about. Icebreaker. Are you still considered a leader if you don't have a group of followers? Come on, debate me. Talk to me. Are you still a leader if you don't have a group of followers? Talk to me. Why? How? Let's get into it. That's what I like. I like the contrast. I like the conflict. Hold on. Destiny, write your name on there, baby. Hold on to it. Write your name both sides. Let's get into this debate. They're fighting for you. Hold on. Shauna's coming. Wait till Shauna gets in and then. No, we're talking in general. Stop making it spiritual. Shauna, take a piece, write your name on it. Jenga, yes, write your name on both sides. Hold on to it. All right, Shauna just came into the question. It's an icebreaker. We're not talking spiritual. Okay. The question for tonight is, are you still considered a leader if you don't have a group of followers? Stop making it spiritual, Jay. It's a regular question. No, just in general. Can you be a leader if you don't have a group of followers following you? Yes? Why? Okay. Hold on. Pause. Janet, write your name and hold on to it. No, hold on to it. Yeah, both sides.
One person viewing one follower.
Okay. Okay, Bernadette, that is a good theory, except that, read the question again. No, I said a group, not one person. Okay, anybody else want to debate that? Xavier?
I don't want to. A leader needs followers to be a leader.
Why not?
Because you can't. You have to go off of the lower one. Followers follow.
Uh-huh.
A leader does what he does.
What is that? He does what he
goes on his path, on his chosen path. He will walk that regardless of who's telling him what. That is a leader. A follower will obviously follow.
Okay, anybody else want to add to that?
I would say like Trump. Trump does whatever he wants, right? Think about it.
Okay.
He has a group of followers.
Oh, well, stalkers. Well, he does, but before he became... Let me say I feel like he did whatever he wants. He did whatever he wants. And he still does whatever he wants.
Okay, let me make it a little more challenging before I give it over to Jazzy. What if nobody knows your name? You still a leader?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because who's the main one to leader?
Okay. Se te nota de lejos. Why? Give me some attributes as to what a leader looks like. Yeah, but I want to get into the nitty gritty. You gave me a very superficial answer. Jazzy, go.
I feel like if you consider yourself that, everything starts in your mind. So if you consider yourself a leader, you're a leader.
How can you be a leader without followers?
Because they eventually follow.
Thank you for the question. Yes.
I feel like yourself.
Come on. Thank you, Jolie. Somebody give me something.
Okay, in my teacher, Jesus is they look at him like the leader because he.
You said it? Okay.
So that's me changing my set of mind to lead myself to do better.
Okay, that's a good argument. Okay, anybody else? That's a good argument. I like that. I'm looking for one word and none of you have said it yet, but keep going. No. Example. Keep going. Are you still considered a leader if you don't have a group of followers? Why would you be considered a leader whether you have followers or not? He said there's two groups. There's followers and there's leaders, but there's one word. Okay, but give me another. Keep going. Dissect it. Nope, keep going. There's one thing that all leaders have. Whether people follow them or not, there's one word. It starts with an I. Influence. Influence. Whether people follow you or not, you still have influence, Jolie. They choose to follow you, that's their choice. But you still have influence. You may influence them and they be influenced by you and not even know that they're being influenced by you till the time comes to show that maybe a side or something of your personality has hit on them. All right, so now, okay, so everybody got a Jenga piece, right? And I know we're all adults here, so it'll be okay. Everybody, we're going to play Jenga. Yes, we're going to come. No, 30 people Jenga. That's the point of the exercise. 30 people Jenga. Does everybody know how to play Jenga? What is the point of the game? To keep them going up. So you're asking 30 people to work together to keep a building coming up. Wow, sounds like a church to me. I'll start. Go ahead. The brave one. Guys, hold on. Pause. Remember, hold on. The point is to keep it up. So whoever's throwing, that shows your ability to work together. Come on, let's build it.
3 and 3.
Who said 3 and 3? JD said 3 and 3. All right, go ahead. Xavier's, Go ahead.
Keep building.
Keep building. Keep going. Everybody put their piece? That's not everybody. No. We're only working with what we got. Everybody put their piece? That's everybody? Okay. Who's going to take the initiative to make it so that it keeps going up? Who's gonna take the initiative? Who's going to take the initiative? You could take whatever, but remember, you guys everybody's playing on the same team. No, you can't use a marker. You cannot. You got to use yourself. You yourself and yourself. Okay? So, hold on, pause. Right now we have Destiny, Daisy, and Victor at the top. Oh, wow. Wow. All right. We have Destiny, Daisy, and Victor at the top. Let's go. Who'd you bring up? Debbie's on the top. All right, who else? All right. Now, Selena's like, I'm going to help you out real quick. So Selena's the only one that's going to try? Ain't nobody else willing to try? Oh, you're giving her the space. Oh, I like that. Okay. Oh, who's that? Chantel. Oh, okay. Chantel. Oh, she's a good one. Yeah. She's a strong one. Yeah. Let's see. Who else we got at the bottom? JD's at the bottom holding the fort down. Who else is that? Lucindy's at the bottom. And Michela's at the bottom. They're pulling Michela to the top. Oh, no, they're bringing Lucindy to the top. Wow. Anybody else willing? Michela and JD holding it down. Wow. But you're at the bottom. Nobody can see you. Ariel's holding it up on the top now. Everybody can see Ariel. But who's at the bottom? Michela and JD at the bottom holding down the fort. You are a negative Nelly. Okay. Who did you pull? Destiny. Wow. Destiny's at the top now. Everybody can see you. Who's next? Courtney's willing. Wait, Courtney, do that again. She's willing. She's looking. No, Courtney, sit back down. You quit. It's just an example. Watch.
Who's being negative?
All right, Courtney, take another shot at it. Courtney, go ahead. Take another shot at it. Victor's on top. Go ahead, Court. Courtney's like, yeah, nah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go, no. He's going to ruin my whole object lesson. He's going to ruin. Devil, you a whole lot. Come on, Court. Who did you pull? Jasmine T's at the top. Okay. All right. Who else is willing? Who's willing? Because now it's getting tense. Michela's willing. Good now. Laura and Jasmine leading the team. Okay. Who we got? Xavier at the top. Okay. All right. Who else? All right. Hold on. All right. Go, Kathy. Go ahead, Kathy. Let's see. Kathy's like, I'm going to take a turn. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. It's all right. Gentle. Who you got? Bernadette. Bernadette's at the top. Okay. Okay. All right. Now I want, out of your team, look at one another and nominate somebody to go to the top. Nominate somebody to go at the top. Let's talk about, hold on. Think about it for a second. In order for you to put the person at the top, this person has to have sturdy hands. This person has to be solid. So think about your strengths and your weaknesses. You can't put me and Victor because our weaknesses are that our hands shake, so we can't be at the top at this moment. We have to stay in our place because we know how far we can go. Everybody got to nominate her. Everybody nominates Destiny? All right. Destiny, go for it. Destiny, you have sturdy hands? Okay, go ahead. Push it. Work together as a team. Figure it out. You can tell her, look somewhere else.
That second row is healthy.
It's healthy, that's what I said. That's what I don't want to
touch and see what's weaker.
You heard Kathy, she said touch and see what's weak. Go ahead. Okay. Oh, who you got there? Let's see. Amy. Amy's at the top now. Everybody can see Amy. All right, you got to nominate somebody else.
Can I fix it?
You can fix it. Yeah, you can fix it. Now think about each other's strengths and weaknesses. If you know the person got shaky hands, you're not going to put them at the top.
I nominate Laura.
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 There's pressure to be at the top. You guys can help her out. Oh, Laura was smart. She took from the top. Okay. All right.
I know. It's gonna fall.
Anybody else want to try? Nominate somebody else. Think about strategy. Think about weight.
What?
My type A personality people. Go ahead.
No, it's gonna fall. It's gonna fall.
Okay, so it has to be adjusted then. So work as a team. Adjust that. Fix it. I know, but for the sake of what we're that's why you the personality A. For the sake of the game, you can touch it. Right now we have Jasmine, Bernadette, and Amy leading us. But everybody else is holding them down. Who we got there? Ariel. Ooh, Ariel at the top. Okay. All right. Anybody else want to try? I have shaky hands. That's not my strength. You don't want me trying. I mess it all up. I got to know my place. I got to know what my strengths and weaknesses are. Xavier back at the top. Wow, okay. You guys are doing great. Anybody else? You want to nominate somebody else? Who we got? Brandon back at the top.
You just tell me she done this before.
Wait, pause. You heard that? She made it look easy.
Yeah.
Let's think about that. She made it look easy. That's okay. If you can't do it, if you know you can't do it and you might break it, what do you do in that circumstance? Ask for help. Go ask for somebody to help you.
Guys, I don't want this to fall.
I don't want this to fall, so I need somebody else's help. Come on. And I know that the table's a little low and unstable to begin with.
One block. It's too much weight.
We're only building up. We don't bring people down.
But if I bring one down, it would be help to
No, you
steady it
can't
to build it up.
Does it work like that, Bernadette?
All right.
Real life, we only bring them up. We don't bring them down.
Wait, let me get on this side.
Amy, back on top. Amy, okay. All right. Come on, somebody else. We need somebody else. Everybody got to put their hands on this. We can't be spectators. No, it just kids. She got baby heads. Come on. You could try. It doesn't matter. You're trying. You have little hands and you don't have nails, so you have more of an advantage. Damn, you guys are rocking longer than I expected. You got anything? You got to disconnect it. How do you turn it off? It's the speaker. Disconnect it. Okay, hold on.
You got it.
Hold on. She needs concentration. Okay. Damn, you guys are really. Debbie's on top. Okay. I need somebody else. Come on. I need somebody else. Jules, come on, Jules. There we go, Jules. You got it. Gentle.
Yeah, but you need an assist?
Yeah, no, you can go ahead. You can help each other.
I note that Xavier's relentless.
Oh, that's good. We're gonna analyze everybody's reaction at the end. Ariel back on top. Okay, I do want you to know though that we still have Michelle and JD on the bottom holding it down. We have Julio also holding it down at the bottom. Strong foundation. Who else we got there? We have Shauna holding it down. We have Jolie holding it down. Jasmine holding it down. Strong foundation. Anybody else want to? Or you guys get the point? You want to try it? Oh, let's try. We got a few more minutes. Go ahead, Destiny. Destiny's like, nah, we're gonna finish this. Try. Yeah, see if you can. Yeah, that's a good one. You can't shake the bottom. Okay, well. Cindy's there. You could try to move her. See if she's a little loose. Anybody else? I think she got something. No, that's okay. You're demonstrating your strengths. Go ahead. You got it. Go ahead. Let her try, because we got to finish the game. Go ahead. We're here till 10 o'clock, and I still haven't got my message. You messing with a pillar. Hold on. It's interesting, the people that are, like, analyzing, right? And then there's other people that... So, we're going to keep going, or we're going to end this? We're going to keep going? Okay. All right. So, what can we learn from this game? All right, this is what we can learn from the game. That it's shared responsibility. Every team member must contribute to building and maintaining the structure. Number 2, communication and coordination. Effective communication is key to deciding which blocks to remove, similar to team meeting to discuss strategy and coordination. Attention to detail, calculated risk, adaptability and flexibility. Recognizing individual strengths. You saw how some of you were like, yeah, nah, I can't do it. Some other people were like, yeah, I could definitely do this. Resilience and learning from the mistakes. Who was the most resilient in the room? Xavier. Another thing, it fosters collaboration, encourages open communication, delegate tasks effectively. You told each other, nah, I can't do this. You have to do this. Last week we were talking about weaknesses and strengths. If you don't know what your weaknesses are, you're going to think you could do everything and you're going to mess it up. It's okay to say, I don't know how to do this. You got this. Who did we say that to? We said it to Destiny. Or who else needed help? Who was it that needed help? That said, nah, I can't do this. Bernadette, you said, I can't do this. I don't want to do it. I'm recognizing I can't do it. You go ahead and do it. Provide clear direction. Clearly communicate goals and expectations to the team, acting as a guiding force like the Jenga master. Be mindful of team dynamics. Identify potential areas of friction, which we did, right? Somebody tried to move me. It was going to fall apart. But remember that the stability is at the bottom. And celebrate success and learn from failure. So I want to give you guys a story. It's too bad that Eddie's not here because he's the one who told me the story. He told me that one time he was in school, middle school, that his teacher was trying to teach his friend a lesson. And so what he did was he went and counted all the bricks in Haverstraw Middle School outside. And what he did was, as a punishment to that student, he told the student, you're going to stay after in detention and you're going to count the bricks. I've already counted the bricks. So I know if the brick number you're giving me is right or wrong. So sure enough, he went, counted the bricks after detention. He gave the teacher the number and the number was wrong. What did he do wrong? It's difficult, but what he did was he was only counting the bricks in front of him. He wasn't counting the corner bricks. Where am I getting at? That just because you can't see the bricks doesn't mean they're not there. Just because they're not in front of you doesn't mean they're not holding the foundation down. And so today we're talking about, and this is the gut check. I'm being gentle. Okay, in general, the role of a leader is to coach, guide, inspire others. They motivate teams through challenging times and guide individuals through their career progressions. A leader manages individuals to keep teams aligned and working toward shared goals. They foster a collaborative culture and lead by example. So to answer the question, can you be a leader with no one following you? Absolutely can. Because you can lead in your home, just your son. You could lead yourself. You're still a leader. You're still a leader. And from the game, we can see that just because some people were at the bottom and some people were at the top, it was irrelevant. We were all the same because we were all leaders. But notice one thing. We all had a different job. So just because you have a different job doesn't mean that you're anything less, okay? I'm being gentle. Come on. Ralph Nader, he's an American politician, says this. The function of leadership is to produce other leaders, not just other followers. What does that mean? Real leaders build other leaders. So if you're in leadership position and you're not training the person after you to come up higher than where you are at, then you're not a real leader. Somebody who's insecure and intimidated won't teach others because they want to secure the position. A real leader knows that the most effective way of you leading is to build others to be better than you.
You can say that's a dictatorship if you're not thinking about others.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. A real leader, a real teacher, your joy is to have students learn more than you, do better than you. Now, how can you do that if you're selfish, if you're egotistical, if you're prideful? You can't. Somebody who's prideful can't lead because somebody who's prideful wants all the glory for themselves. Now, somebody who is in a leadership position and is a true leader will always want those around them to grow, even if that means that they're out of the spotlight. Okay? So the question tonight is, have you ever felt overlooked? Okay, that's part one. Part two, are you willing to lead and be part of the team even if and when no one can see you? The class is called Faceoff. Faceoff means it's not about you. There's a hoodie over you. You're a representative of Christ. It's not going to be about you. You're not going to be acknowledged. Are you willing to be in that type of position? Yes. For some of us, it's a little bit harder. It's hard because you have pride. Yes. For some of us to not be in the limelight is like, wait. But for some of us, it's okay because we have those type of personalities that we're introverted. But even if you're introverted, check this out. Tonight's class is dedicated to those that are rarely seen, mentioned, acknowledged, or appreciated. Today, I'm only speaking to the people who work behind the scenes. I'm not talking to people that are on the altar. I'm not talking to people that everybody can see you, what you do. I'm talking to those people who work behind the scenes. Like the media for Saturday, yes. Or like the people who come to pray before the service. Those people that you don't see. Now, is this a bash to people who are in the spotlight? Absolutely not. But the truth is that if you're in the spotlight, you're in the spotlight. You're already there, right? But today, for whatever reason, this is what God gave me. This class is for those people because even if you are in the spotlight, you may still feel overlooked. You may feel unappreciated. You may feel like that in your regular life outside of church. You may feel not seen, not mentioned, not acknowledged. You may feel not appreciated. You may feel like you're giving and giving and giving and nobody is noticing. Has anybody ever felt like that? Because that is the worst feeling in the world because it makes you feel like there's 3 words. Ready? What's the point? It's hard to continue going when nobody's giving you a pat on the back. It's hard to continue going when you're just going and going and going, and has anybody ever felt ignored? No encouragement. You feel ignored. Whether it's in your marriage, whether it's as a parent, whether it's as a daughter or a son, whether it's as a sister, whether it's as a person in the church, a lot of people feel ignored. In your job, wherever it may be. And listen, again, this is the Lord gave me this. All right? He told me just like that. This class is for those rarely seen, mentioned, acknowledged, or appreciated. The ones that struggle because they think they don't matter, the ones that struggle because they think they're irrelevant, the ones that struggle because they think, what's the point if I'm there or I'm not there? Nobody's going to care. Now, you don't have to admit to it, but the truth is that those thoughts have gone through our minds at whatever capacity, okay? I was once told I would do great things. And when I was told that, I started crying and I got so mad at the person who said it to me. And I said, I keep hearing that all my life. You're going to do great things. And I haven't done great things. This is what I'm telling the person. And I said, God promised me I would do great things. But in my mind, that has never come to fruition. The problem was that I was measuring the great things that was promised to me by God according to this world. So this is real talk. I really thought I was going to be on a stage one day like the next Mariah Carey or something. I thought I was going to be famous and a celebrity, and that's what I thought it meant by great things. When I had the conversation with the person, they said, if that's what you're thinking, then you have it all wrong. It's just like the disciples when they kept hearing of a kingdom. They thought in their mind that it was a physical kingdom. They didn't understand what great things meant. I didn't understand what great things meant. But I understand now that great things can be speaking life into Jolie and her life changing. That's me doing great things. It doesn't mean that I have to be on NBC, CBC, MTV. That's not what it means. To do great things is the ability to have influence over somebody else, for their life to change because of one word you said. That means you're doing great things. But I was measuring me by the standards of this world. So we've been talking about these Bible characters, these disciples, right? And how many of us really know the disciples? How many of us really know them? Which disciple do you guys know the most? Peter. And that's because we spoke about him last week. But who else that you guys know, off the top of your head? Kathy said it. John, Matthew. But do we know the disciples? Do we know their characters? Last week we found out that Peter and Simon were the same person. And remember that Simon, he was called Simon when he was doing something bad. He was called Peter when he was doing something good. Did you guys know that? Because I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that. So now we're on getting to know them on a personal level. Now, today, the goal by the end of this 10 to 12 week is for everyone to be able to identify with at least one of the disciples that you can relate to. Because the truth is, we have more similarities to the disciples than differences. So here's the question. And let's see if y'all know this, because I didn't know it. We're overlooked by everyone else, but we're handpicked by God. All right. And for those that feel overlooked, there's two verses for you. The number one is 1 Corinthians 15:58. Always give yourself fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor is not in vain. So y'all want to look at that? For those of you that might feel overlooked, there's two verses. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor is not in vain. And number two is John 15:16. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you may go and bear fruit that will last. Okay? Because I've heard this from a lot of people in conversation. I don't know what my gift is. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm not the type of person to be on the altar. I don't sing. I don't preach. I don't teach. What am I supposed to do? But there's so much to do. So that's really what this class is about. So the question is, do you know who led Peter to Jesus? Do y'all know? No. Who was it?
Andrew.
It was Andrew. Do y'all know who Andrew is? Nah, nobody knows him. Poor guy. His brother. That was his older brother. Oh, little brother? It was his little brother. His little brother led him to Jesus. Somebody read to me John 1:35-42.
You know you said 35 to 32, right?
35 to 42.
Okay, all right.
John 1:35.
Yeah. Whoever has it.
The following day, John was again standing with two of his disciples. As Jesus walked by, John looked at him and declared, "Look, there is the Lamb of God." When John's two disciples heard this, they followed Jesus. When Jesus looked around and saw them following, "What do you want?" he asked them. They replied, "Rabbi," which means teacher, "where are you staying?" "Come and see," he said. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon when they went with him to the place where he was staying, and they remained with him the rest of the day. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of these men who heard what John said and then followed Jesus. Andrew went to find his brother Simon and told him, "We have found the Messiah," which means Christ. Then Andrew brought Simon to meet Jesus. Looking intently at Simon, Jesus said, "Your name is Simon, son of John, but you will be called Cephas," which means Peter.
So do you guys realize how significant that was? Nobody knows who Andrew was, and yet Andrew, because of Andrew's obedience, Peter got to know who Jesus was. And do you guys remember what Peter did? But Peter was, everybody knows who Peter is. That's the point. Peter wrote books in the Bible. Peter, yes, he denied Jesus, but he did a lot of good things. But the point was that everybody knows Peter. Nobody knows Andrew. But it was because of Andrew's obedience. So what's the point? That just as much as we need Peters in this world, we need Andrews. We need those people that are in the cut. We need those people that are quiet. We need those people that don't need to be around a lot of people. We need people that are obedient. We need those people that are the one-to-one type people. What do you mean, Lou? What do I mean? The type of people that you're just chilling and in conversation, you bring Jesus up. You don't need to be on an altar to preach. You don't need to be at a Bible study to preach. You simply share your experience with God, who God is. There's a lot of people in this room that won't talk in front of a big group, but if you get them alone, they'll talk to you about Jesus. Is that person a leader? Absolutely. So it says that he spent time with Jesus and immediately he had to share about Jesus with his brother. Now, we've had this in conversation at Friday Night Live. I don't really know how to minister. I don't really know how to use those big words. I don't really know how to pray. I wasn't raised in church. And yet, are any of those things necessary to be able to share your story of what Jesus has done in your life with other people? Not at all. You don't have to memorize a plan. You don't have to memorize the New Testament. You don't have to be ordained. All you have to do is spend time with Jesus and tell somebody how it went. Are you saved? Then tell somebody your experience. Did Jesus meet your need? Then tell somebody who has a need. Did Jesus answer your prayer? Then tell somebody that's been praying. I meet people all the time that tell me what they're missing in their churches, so I tell them about ours. People are talking all around you, and they provide you with more opportunity to introduce Jesus to them than you'll ever know. What they need for you and me to spend time with the Lord so we know what to do and what to say in those opportunities. Spending time with Jesus, genuinely encountering Jesus, will produce a natural desire to tell others what you've experienced. Now, does anybody have an example of that? I'm not asking for you guys to be theologians. Give me an example of a time that you've just been chilling and you end up talking about your experience with Jesus. Jazzy.
Getting baptized, I was so nervous.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have anybody. I didn't really tell anybody. It was just kind of like a me thing. You know?
Mm-hmm. That's Destiny. Our Destiny.
And then she's like, "I'm sorry, I'm just a hugger."
X.
And everybody was, you know what I mean? Like, asking questions. I was answering what I could, and it was crazy.
Love it. Kathy.
I was talking to I'm in a new school building, and I was talking to the school psychologist, and she's Dominican, and so there's like a comfort there, right? So we were talking, and she was talking about her depression, and like somehow, some way, we started to talk. Jesus just came in the picture, and then she kind of just like, you know, are you Christian? I'm Christian, and then she just started to bawl, cry, like she started to cry, and then we just started to pray. You know, so it was just beautiful because she was like, you know, just feel that fellowship, and then there we go.
Selena.
And then 2 months later, I'm not the person to ever talk to anybody first, ever. Like, I mind my business, go about my day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even talk to people at work, truly.
Mm-hmm.
So this girl came up to me. She was like, oh, like, I would see you when you're working really hard. Like, you look great. Thank you. Then she started talking to me more consistently, and I found out that she's actually a Christian woman, and she's like, we actually became friends. And every time I see her, we always talk about God. Always. We always get into our word together on the treadmill, and it's just nice to have that.
He said to me, "You're faithful. I can see it through your face." And he was a pastor. He was a police pastor from Red Hook, New Jersey. And for someone to say that they see God through me by the way I act, that's really all I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other compliment was when we watched the movie that everybody went to that I couldn't go to. I brought my son to that movie, and he said, "Mom, you're just like that, Mom, on the screen." That, to me, is one of the best compliments I ever got. I really, because that's what I want to do with my life. I want people to see Jesus through me. So I'm obviously a work in progress, but it's getting there. You know?
What's it called, The Ford?
But guys, you guys gotta go see that. That movie is amazing. Anybody else have an example? I know Courtney has many where she's just been in conversation and it just comes up. Eddie had one this morning.
So we're going, "Can I pray before we leave?" He's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yo, can I pray before we leave?" Because we're leaving the yard. I'm leaving my lady, my kid, my job, my family, everything, going out on the road to deliver. He's like, "Yo, dude, That is crazy because I pray before I leave every day out of this yard. And it's like, I can't believe that you brought this up. And we're walking and we're driving and talking, and he just lowered the music and just went off. Like, he was like, yeah, because I pray every time, like, visor. He's like, yo, if you go to my car right now, the first thing you'll see on my visor is a picture of Jesus. I said, yo, look, bring my book back. So this is why I carry my bag.
Beautiful.
And I don't know how it happened, but we started talking about Jesus too, and it was crazy because I invited him to this church, he invited me to his church, and like we prayed right here.
So
she don't believe this is Bible is written the right way or right about the real person. So she thinks, how you believe? She said, how you believe in the Bible if you know so many people wrote it with so many hands on it? Remember she said that? She has so many questions, and a lot of questions, and I told Misha, that's good that you ask this question. We don't want you to be confused. We don't want you, we're going to show you what we do.
One day I went to see my cousin, he had came from Rochester, and he was at my other cousin's house, and it was pouring, and I told my son, run inside. My son David was with me, and when I went to get out the car, and I went to step fast, as you get older, this happens, my cat goes, so it felt like this muscle went like this. So I started limping. Now I'm in Chacao, I'm soaked. Anyway, I got home. The next day, I go to my favorite deli over there by Domino's. And I'm using a cane because I can't really walk straight. So I order my food and I limp over to the table and sit down to wait for my food. And a guy comes up to me. He was like, "Excuse me, how you doing? My name is his name is actually Brandon." He was like, "My name is Brandon." I'm like, "Okay, nice to meet you, man." He was like, "Would you mind if I pray for you?" And I'm like, "What?" He was like, "Look, you walked inside, and God told me that I had to pray for your leg." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a Christian, bro." He was like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a Bible study teacher, you know." He was like, "That's awesome." He was like, "All right, so put your leg there because I'm going to pray for you." He prayed for me. I said, "Yo, I appreciate you, man. Thank you." He was like, "Yo, we're not done yet." "What do you mean?" He was like, "Get up, walk, because you healed."
Wow.
And sure enough, I was healed.
Well, the thing is, though, about Andrew is that he immediately told Peter about Jesus. And as the ministry continued, nowhere in the Bible does it show that Andrew was intimidated by his brother or his brother's success. It didn't do anything to him. Why? Because Andrew knew who he was. He was not intimidated or bothered, jealous or envious of his brother at all, because he knew where he stood. He knew who he was and what he was called to do. And I think that when we begin to really get into Christ and we understand our calling, there's like a comfort there, because it's like when you know what you're called to do, what everybody else is doing is irrelevant to you. Because you, regardless if it's somebody exceeding or going higher than you, it doesn't bother you because you know that you were called to do this. Whether it may seem, for example, I'm Friday Night Live director, right? If one of you guys come out of this class becoming a pastor, for me, that's an honor, right? It's not going to make me feel some type of way like, dang, they're a pastor and I'm not. No, because real leaders build other leaders. You understand? If you're lacking, then if you're lacking as a student, and Eddie said this in his in a paper he had to write, if one of my students is lacking, then I gotta see what I could do as a teacher to make it better. And if one of my students is thriving, then that's my joy because they're thriving. And I'm doing my job as a teacher, because a teacher's job is to teach and the student is to learn. And if the student learns, then you're just like you did your job as the teacher. But if the student isn't learning, oh, well, but it's the student's fault. No, it's not. Then it's the teacher's responsibility to figure out how I can get the student to learn the way they learn.
Go back and reassess.
Reassess how I can make it better, right? So another fun fact about Andrew, there's about 3 stories in the Bible only about Andrew. So John 6, somebody read it. 8 to 11, because I thought, man, this guy Andrew, he's definitely a 1-to-1 type guy. If you have it, you can read it loudly. So you see that? Like, everybody's trying to figure out. Remember that story with the Jesus feeds the 5,000? Everybody's trying to figure out, like, how are we going to feed these guys? How are we going to feed this guy? It's Jesus. He could have easily just fed them. But look at the person who found the guy with the loaves. Again, it's Andrew. He's on that one-on-one type encounter. That was his personality. He wasn't the type of person that needed crowds. He was that one-to-one type guy. In order for him to notice this kid with the bread and the fish, what did he have to be? What type of person did he have to be? Observant. He had to be an observant person. And usually people who talk a lot, are they observant? No, they're not, because they're always talking. I know, because it's me. I'm her. She is me. Now, my sister, on the other hand, she's quiet. So people who are quiet and they're not talking, what are they doing? They're watching your every move. We need all types of people. We need the people that can talk a lot and go ahead and be like Peter and run into the crowd and chop somebody's ear off because he missed the aim. Remember that last week? I know, Lauda's team Peter. But we also need the people, that's great to have people like Peter, right? That will run into a crowd and be like, run out of the boat and say, that's great to have people like Peter, but we all can't be like Peter. We need some people that are just like watching, observing. Look at Rosie. How I'm watching. Do you guys remember that movie, Monsters, Inc.? No? Oh, he's watching. All right. In another instance, and I'm gonna skip through it, but in another instance, Philip encounters two Greeks to bring them to Jesus, and instead of Philip bringing the two guys to Jesus, Philip brings them to who? Andrew. Again. Why? Because Andrew's personality was one-on-one. Quiet. All right? Let's go on to the next. So what does this tell us? It tells me that Andrew was a man of great inner strength, a man who didn't have to be in the spotlight, a man who didn't care if he received any attention or not. He was content just to follow Jesus and serve him however he could. I want to tell you that's an attitude that's often lacking in our churches. Too many people are ambitious, believing that our recognition and advancement in being the leader, the director, or the boss leads to real happiness. There are too many people like Peter who are quick to shoot off at the mouth and want to run things, but we need more Andrews. The truth of the matter is that without Andrews of the world, those nobodies who work in the shadows, very little would happen. You look at any company, organization, church, or institution in the world, and it is the people behind the scenes doing the most work, quietly pursuing the simple but important tasks they've been given. We need more people who are patient, humble, hardworking, low-key, and content with the work that the Lord has given them to do. When are we going to learn? Check this out. When are we going to learn that the Lord has a way of placing us exactly where he needs us to be? Andrew's life teaches us that we ought to not covet or envy those with more ability, who are brighter, prettier, more of this or that. He was content to serve where the Lord had him. And what was that place of service? Who knows? It doesn't matter, because when you encounter Christ like Andrew did, you won't care what he wants from you. You'll gladly respond with contentment in your heart to do it. The beauty of this is there is no plan. There are no simple 3 steps or 5 steps to encountering Jesus. Encountering Jesus is a very personal experience, and it happens in different ways for different people. How did John the Baptist experience him? He baptized and witnessed the fulfillment of a promise. How did Nathanael encounter Jesus? Jesus told him what he had been doing one afternoon. How did Paul encounter Jesus? As a bright light on the road to Damascus. Encountering Jesus may be different for everyone of you according to your personalities, your interests, and so forth. But it will always be in accordance with Scripture. You won't experience Jesus talking audibly to you today. You won't experience Jesus healing your body through physical touch. You won't see him walking through your bedroom in the middle of the night. Everybody experiences Jesus differently. And how many of you can agree to that? We all have, it's not a one way. This is the way I experience Jesus. It's not. But then again, if we say relationship, not religion. Julissa and Manny's marriage is not like Victor and JD's. Why wouldn't it? Why would it be different from Victor and JD's? Because they're different people. Julissa and Manny's marriage is not going to be the same as Katiria and Julio's. It's not going to be the same as Mimi and Jared. It's not going to be the same as Laura and Samuel. Why? Because it's different people. And I think a lot of times with Christianity, we want to put a cookie cutter fits all for everybody. We can't do that because God works. That's what's so good about God. He knows our hearts. He knows where we're at, where we're going, and where we've been. So for me to impose a certain way of having a relationship with God on Cynthia isn't right. The Bible says for us to go and do what? Be disciples and do what? Share the gospel and share the good news. It doesn't say share the way that you or impose the way you. It says share the good news. And what's the good news? Matthew, Mark, John, and Luke. The good news is that Jesus died on the cross. That's never going to change. That's the same for Courtney. That's the same for Jalissa. That's the same for Jazzy. That's the same for Daisy. That's the same for me. That's never going to change. Now, how God works in your life, how God shapes you. Remember the clay last week? How God shapes you is going to be different for everybody. What can we take away from Andrew's life? Perhaps Andrew's more like us than we realize. Most of us will never be known outside of our peer group. Most of us won't be famous or have volumes of books written about us. Most of us will serve Jesus with no fanfare attached to our name. We will serve in relative obscurity with no celebration or greatness connected to us. The greatest thing we can say about Andrew is he brought his brother to Jesus. He left everything to follow him. This will be the story of many of our lives, following Jesus and bringing people to him with only heaven recognizing and celebrating what you're doing. And I think, and at least for me personally, I think sometimes we need to understand that maybe you're not going to get a round of applause. But do know that everything that we do, God will recompense us for it. God sees everything we do, every good deed that we've done. And God knows when we're not doing it for the applause of people. How many of us have done things and we're not doing it for the applause of people? We're doing it because genuinely, we genuinely wanted to do it because we genuinely felt it in our hearts. And then sometimes you feel like, man, I'm being so unappreciated. I'm being overlooked. But I want to remind you, and again, I don't know who this is for, but I want to remind you that you may feel overlooked. You may feel like you're working and you're trying and nobody sees it. Nobody has given you a pat on your back. But Jesus reminds us tonight that he sees you. He sees you exactly where you're at. And even when you feel like quitting because you feel like, man, is this really worth it? It's absolutely worth it. I felt such a conviction when I was studying this because I said, God, why do you keep repeating that? And he says, because you need to let my people know because there's going to be people in that class tomorrow that feel overlooked. They feel ignored. They feel like they don't matter. They feel like if they were to disappear tomorrow, nobody would care. And I want to remind you that the only one that makes you feel like that is the enemy. And if you're really feeling it hard, he really wants you to believe that because he knows what you're capable of, even when you don't. Maybe you were the type of kid that didn't have your parents' applause as you've been growing up. You've never had it. You don't even know what that feels like. And as adults, really, like how many of us are going to be like, can you tell me how good I'm doing? Like, we're not going to do that. How many of you are really going to do that? Maybe if you have an argument with your husband, you'll probably tell him, you didn't even tell me how good I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? But that's probably in the privacy of your marriage or your relationship. But I don't know, like the Lord kind of showed me last night when I was studying this class that you need to remind my people that I see the effort. I see the effort. That just because they're behind the scenes doesn't mean that they're any less than the people that are on the altar. Because if you look, and I know you guys probably don't watch it, but I do. I watch a lot of awards, like the Grammys. Like I have a whole setup when I watch the Grammys. And when people are thanking, yes, I know, it's terrible, but I do. But when people are thanking, they're thanking everybody. Think about it. The people they're thanking who? Management. People that other people can't see. You understand? Like I'm thanking my co-actor or my co-actress or all those people behind the scenes that nobody ever sees. There's a lot of people in this room that may never step on an altar because that's not your calling. You may never preach to a crowd of 5,000. But do know that your speaking to one person is equivalent to Courtney preaching to 5,000. It doesn't make anything less of what Courtney's doing because she's doing what she was called to do. But if what you were called to do, Jolie, is to preach to that one person, then that one-on-one is just as important as the 5,000. That conversation, I'm going to give it to you. That conversation, Xavier, at that party where maybe people were doing ungodly things, but that conversation, and again, and we spoke to Destiny, was it last week? Or 2 weeks ago, you may not see the fruit of that conversation today. You may not see the fruit of that conversation tomorrow. You may not, but trust that whatever is sown will be reaped. You understand? That when you speak the word of God to somebody, that's a double-edged sword that will come to fruition. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but a lot of us are the product of one person preaching to us. A lot of us in this room, even if you grew up in church, that's irrelevant because you can grow up in church and never know Jesus. A lot of us are the product of one person never giving up on us. I remember my brother always tells this testimony. The reason he came back to the church was because this one guy named Eddie kept nagging my brother. And maybe Eddie's not serving the Lord today, or maybe he is. But because of Eddie being nagging and doing what God told him to do in that season, my brother is the product of that today. The one who needs to see it, saw it, and God will, el Señor te va a recompensar por eso. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, we feel like, man, I put so much effort into you, and you're just turning around and acting like it's no big deal. Right? Sometimes we may feel like that, like you're so ungrateful. But you know what? Nothing good that we do is ever going to be, it may be overlooked by the person, but we serve a God that sees everything, and he will give you your, what is it? Yeah, but there's a word that they use outside. They will give you your flowers. And I want to encourage everybody today that if that's you, that you're feeling like, yeah, man, like, what's the point of this? Because I'm really putting in effort, and like, as I wanna remind you that the Lord told me to tell you that he sees you. Your family may not see you, your husband or your wife may not see you, your kids may not see you, maybe for whatever reason, but God, he sees you, and you're not wasting your time. That is the most beautiful thing about the Lord, that we all function like an orchestra. Not all the instruments are sound loud. Some are of the wind, they're a little softer. But together, we are the body of Christ. Yes. Amen. Because some people, like, for example, you could be really good at one thing and suck at another thing. And then you could be really good at this, like, for example, I'm very, very outgoing. But I won't do one-on-one. That makes me very uncomfortable. I'm more comfortable in this setting than I am on the one-on-one. Then there's other people that will do the one-on-one and can't do this. So there's nobody in this room that's good at all of it. We all balance each other. We need each other. That was the point of that exercise. You see how, like, Victor's probably holding it down on the bottom, but he can't, he's not going to be able to pull it out from the top because his hands shake. That is his weakness. But then there's somebody that maybe can't hold it down at the bottom, but has no problem taking it from the top. But if we had all this room full of Peters, we'd be in trouble. That's a lot of loud people. And most of us are of color, so we are a lot of loud people. But then if we had a bunch of Andrews, then where would we be? You know what I'm saying? So it's a perfect combination of different, it's a perfect balance of different personalities. It's just a matter of working together and moving forward to make this the best that we can be. That's the purpose of it. Iron sharpens iron. You understand? Me and Courtney, we experienced that. Iron sharpens iron. We're not always gonna see eye to eye. That's unrealistic. But to be able to let's figure this thing out because it's worth it. And as believers in Christ, we have to remember this. We only have one enemy, and it's not each other. We only have one enemy. So if the enemy, if you start seeing division or you need to understand, I need to understand, we all need to understand that that's from the enemy. Because the enemy understands that when there's believers that come together, you're an unstoppable force. Divide and conquer. You know how kids do that? They'll get mommy and daddy fighting against each other so that they can get what they want to get. Listen, divide and conquer. I ain't even gonna lie. I might try doing that with me and Eddie not too long ago. That divide and conquer crap, and we're like, oh, is she trying to play us against each other? Hold on a second. Yes, and we're gonna see, how he uses. Like now, I know. I hope that by the end of this thing, if anybody asks you about the disciples, y'all gonna be able to tell the 12 disciples their strengths and weaknesses and be like, I'm more like Peter sometimes. Maybe I'm more like Thomas because I'll be doubting sometimes. But like, I'll be honest, I don't even know the 12 names of the disciples. But I think after this series, just like we were on Exodus for 5 years, after this class, y'all gonna be like, yeah, I know all the disciples and I know them in order. Like, what you want? Which one you want? Which one you want? So that is the end of the class.